And now we're excited to share a segment that we haven't done in a little while.
Oh
We
my gosh.
have who all gonna be there, and today who gonna be here?
Yeah, today I we pulled some major ties and got a very special guest with Jenny Laroche, star of stage, screen, behind the scenes, everything. I met Jenny when we met Jenny when we were auditioning for Summer, and then she ended up booking me for Donna Summer the Musical, and it was unreal because I'd looked up to her forever. So we are highly excited to bring you Jenny Laroche and to introduce you to, well,
Like you said,
we don't need an
dancer,
introduction.
singer, actor, mentor, teacher, all of the things.
Yeah, we're very excited to bring you Jenny Laroche.
Podcast. Probably until we publish.
Probably until we publish the podcast. And that is Jenny Laroche.
Oh my goodness, what an introduction.
So Jenny, why don't you just give us like a quick index card of information of the stuff that makes you feel most important. I don't want to be like, give us your credits, give us your blah. I want you to tell us just about you in a quickest form you can.
Okay, not like pandemic, like that makes me feel good, but just like in general.
I mean, we'll get into it, but let's do like background, like what led you up to here.
Got it. Pre-pandemic. Okay. Well, I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I went to college in Buffalo, so I went from like hot to freezing cold. It was the first time I saw snow, so that was a surprise. But what led me there was, performing arts. I wanted to perform for a living. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it involved leaving Florida. So I went there, and then I moved to New York City about 12 years ago now. And the first job that I did was Radio City Rockettes. It was like one of my first auditions, which was really amazing and timely because I moved here in '08, and that was like the audition a month before the financial crisis. So I luckily was able to like tour for 4 months, save my coins, because by the time I moved back to New York City, everything was, so that was like a real blessing. And also just fun, like having your first job be a tour, was super reckless. I had I made some good friends along the way. It's so funny. Like that's actually like, I'm totally going to call them out now, but Ashley Everett and Todrick Hall, that's how we met, like our humble beginnings, and we had the best time. I'm totally going to call them out because I know they don't want to remember those days. But
my face probably just cracked.
What?
Her face just cracked. Just these name drops.
I can probably keep my composure.
I have to, because we had a stupid nickname. It was like Taj or something. Yeah, like Taj, whatever. Like the TH, I can't. But it was it was great. We were like newbies to like the biz, and it was an exciting time for us. Like that was like my freshman year, I call that. And then I did another 2 seasons of the Rockettes, and I eventually left that. Like I did like commercial stuff in between, like a lot of gigs, gigging. That's what we all know that as. Another career highlight, eventually it led me to do Smash. That was a career highlight and a career disappointment. More to come with that. And then, I mean, if we're just going to talk, we're just going to talk openly. And I mean, to sum it up, the theater stuff kind of led me to television, and I've hopped back and forth from like TV, film, and theater because I love all mediums of art. And most recently was like the Broadway realm, and now I'm choreographing more and like mentoring more. But I'm still performing. Well, not right now, but I still like love being a performer. So I'm not full-time behind the table yet, but that opening that door has been really eye-opening for me, because I realized how little, there's not many people of color behind the table. And I think there needs to be more of us telling our stories and doing our works. So that has been a dream. Like, I've really loved doing that. And pre-pandemic, I had cast this lovely gem in our fabulous show, the Donna Summer Musical. And that was cool. I was a part of the Donna Summer Musical from its inception. So from workshop to out of town to Broadway, to then we closed on Broadway, and then, okay, there's going to be a tour. And then I was asked to be associate choreographer. And so just all the different, just having it carry on has been awesome. And then the last project that I was doing while I was doing that was Lin-Manuel Miranda is adapting Tick, Tick, Boom to be a Netflix movie. And we were rehearsing that. And that was the last costume fitting I had before I was told to stay home for a global pandemic.
You are such a good, I've been following your career for a while, since Smash, since I saw you up there being that representation. And then I get to work with you as this choreographer, and you put on so many lovely hats and you wear them well. I mean, was that always your intention? Is that always what you set out to do?
To wear many hats? Yes. I mean, I never, who knew that it was going to happen and work out for me, but I never liked being boxed in. That was like the main thing I didn't want to happen. So I remember even in college, we had this paper. It was like a class called Research and Dance. And so you had to, I don't know if y'all had that, I don't know, whatever program, Research and Dance. And like a lot of people chose like, I'm going to write a 25-page paper on Isadora Duncan or Martha Graham, or, I'm going to write the history of tap dance. That was always like the typical topics that people chose to write about. And my topic was the livelihood of a performer. Like, I didn't want to just be a dancer. I knew that from jump. I didn't want to be, I don't know. I think when people made assumptions of me, like, oh, you're tall, you should be a Rockette, or, oh, you're Black, you should join Ailey. Like, I never wanted to be labeled or just limited off my appearance. So I just always said I wanted to try everything. And like, I remember when I got my first agent, it was like, agents laugh when you say that, like, I want to do everything. And I was like, no, but really, I want to do everything. Like, don't box me in. And I was constantly fighting that being boxed in, because the minute like I would book something commercial dance, then I kept being submitted for like that type of stuff. And I was like, no, like, I want to, go in for a very campy musical theater show. Like, why not? Let me be that unconventional cast member, the casting type. So yeah, I always had many interest, I guess. And yeah, I just didn't want to hear the word no. Definitely have heard it many a times. But I try not to let it stop me too much.
Yeah.
So like when you know that you want to wear many hats and you have the training and the wherewithal and confidence to then rock those many hats, how have you kind of navigated the energy it takes to feed all of those different things? How have you prioritized them? How have you said, yes, well, in this singing moment, this acting moment, this dance mentor, managerial teaching moment, like, how do you divide that energy and keep all of those hats balanced?
That is a very good question. A very good question. Still balancing it all out. It also helps that I have a lovely husband, and we've been together now 9 years. We got married 3 years ago, and I have maintained a work-life balance, I think. So I would feel drained if I gave like a lot of energy to like putting up a show, creating a show. And like, you know, I was a part of the pre-production phase of every show that I've done, I can say. Like for Smash, I was in the pre-production room like, okay, this may be a hit, it may be a total flop, but we got to create these numbers. So like that pressure and that like, let's create, like working side by side with Josh Bergas and working side by side with Sergio Trullo and like working side by side with Linda Haberman. Like we got to get this show afloat and like make it a bit, you know, I always felt like I want to do my part to make something that can like last forever. And that usually never happens because it's just not the way our world works. But it could be really draining. And I don't know. I think I've always like managed to not, like people are like, oh, you dated outside of your field. And I'm like, absolutely. Like I can't focus all of my energy into my fields. Like when I'm in the rehearsal room or if I'm in an audition, like I'm going to give it my all, but it could become very toxic when it's all you have, you know? And so I think that's also like going back to why I chose Buffalo in particular. Like I was looking at Point Park, I was looking at all these other like really strong programs that were conservatories, but I wanted the full college experience. I wanted to meet people outside of the dance studio, outside of like the music, you know what I mean? Like I didn't just want to only know how to talk about what I do. I wanted to drink with the muggles. I wanted to have options. I had started off as a business minor and that just was way too much of a workload to also be a dance major. But I don't know. I always knew that one thing was not necessarily enough to fulfill me, I guess. So finding that balance and I think the balance for me comes from not engulfing my entire world in our industry, you know.
How do you fit wife into there? How do you go about this like family life with your husband and tending to that and caring for that? I would hate if I missed this opportunity to talk about that section of your life because I feel like we also our brands and our bodies get engulfed in this like I'm here and that's what I am, and we don't really get to know much further. And I'm just so curious, how do you go about like wifehood along with all of this stuff?
Well, I feel like wifehood and family keep my feet on the ground, right? Like our industry, there's cracks all around the floor. So we're constantly dodging and constantly like, it can feel very, not the craft, but how our industry works can feel very superficial. Like getting that vibe of, okay, here's another audition. Let me get my mind right. Let me do my part. Let me do my work. But then I'm in the room and it becomes about something that is not fully about my work. You know what I mean? And knowing that, accepting the rejection, you know, all of that is so like, it's like constantly chasing like a car, like a dog chasing a car, you know? And I think the family life that's the tangible thing. Like, look at this pandemic, like family time with friends, time with like the humanity of it. It's interesting because it definitely sucks that our industry is at such a complete stop. I think the fear, the uncertainty, all that stuff is very real. But then I'll find myself like telling my friends of like, but wait, we've been here before. Like as an artist, you've been without a job for a couple of months, or you've been without health insurance. It's the fact that we're all now sharing this same like standstill and like, but wait, when will it end? Like it will end. It will get better. Like, this is an icky chapter, but I think if all you have is focusing on, I'm out of a job, you know, if all you're focusing on is like, okay, well, when will the next audition be? Is there going to be a role for me? Is there, because that's how our minds work, right? Like, okay, like, I feel like we're all secretly, pre-pandemic, you know, you'll go and see a Fierce show and you're like, okay, who's about to leave this show so I can be in it? You know what I mean?
Cover your tracks.
Her ankles look long.
Like,
Figure out
you're low key in like sabotage mode. Like, okay, who's leaving the show? Who's moving on? Okay, what role is it for? Like, you're constantly in that mindset, and we have to be like, that's what we're used to. But now there are no shows. Now there are, okay, it doesn't mean that you're not an artist. It means that you're not getting paid to be an artist. But how can you still, you know, keep that passion? How can you still, not still, but how can you tap into other spectacular, amazing parts of you and all the facets that are you that aren't just what someone wants to hire for their show? Family and like what that means. And when you are in between work or in between shows, like, that's your constant. And, you know, my partner, that's my constant.
Yeah. I know we just, I really appreciate that. Thank you. I know Lexi just wants to get to it because she's the biggest Smash fan.
Am I?
You in this house.
I'm in this house, yes. Okay, so Smash came out when we were in college. And, I mean, I didn't know Kayla when we were in college, but we were both at the time. And I had a professor who told us to watch it. He said that is the closest you'll see on, like, cable, on the TV. That's a representation of what actually happens in the industry. He's like, that project is so closest to what really happens. So he's like, watch it. And that's how I became a Smash fan. Like I said, we had a whole moment last week in New York. Like, a couple of years into being in New York, I was like, I never finished Smash. And then I like started from the top and picked up and finished it all again. So as far as the idea of, like you said, our industry has so many cracks in the ground and can be so finicky and in the air, can seem like this wild goose chase. What about that experience and that project was very truthful to you? And then as you brought up earlier, what was the let's do the professional way first. We're gonna lean in.
That was a real nice way of saying, what's the tea?
No, but I want to know if you agree. Like, as a part of the project, do you agree with why I was told to watch it in the first place? And then, let's tease it.
Well, I had to say that part just because, I mean, if we're going to be real, it was an experience for me. Emotionally, because like I definitely, so much growth came out of that experience. But anyways, before we get into all the sticky stuff, I will say that's amazing. I haven't heard that a program used Smash as like a learning tool. I love that, because season 1 especially, Teresa Rebeck, our showrunner from season 1, was so, wanted it to be so authentic. And I mean, it's prime time, so, you know, NBC has many rules of how authentic we could actually be. But it was like, I remember one of our cast members was like, wait a minute, this is actually real. Like, it was not as whitewashed as we expected it to be. Like, I loved that I was cast as, you know, the leggy, oh, there's my oven. Hey, sound issues. I auditioned for Smash. Like, initially I wasn't reading for a part. I was just auditioning for one of the like major production numbers. And they're like, oh my God, who is she? You know, and at the time I had no Broadway credits. I was like living in my own bubble of like Rockette land and Beyonce land and kind of like gigging around, you know what I mean? But like to our theater industry, it can be very like elite sometimes. And I remember someone being like, you better come in here and take the job away from all the other girls. Like it was, no one knew me then. I was like, I mean, I've been around, just not in the Broadway scene, right? And so I remember like reading for the part, and they, you know, it was for episode 4. And so I did a dance number, and then it turned into a recurring role. And it was amazing. It was like, I didn't feel exploited for being like the Black girl in the chorus. It was just like, she's fierce and she can act. You're hired. And I would like, I know that sounds simple, but like, it was a fresh start. I felt like the fact that I could do what I love to do on the stage and tell that story on television was like all my dreams combined. And it was some of like the happiest, like best, like having my own like little trail. Like I would take pictures of like my name on the little honeydew and all that. And then we had, so this is where the tea comes in. To be continued. Part 2 is coming. And yeah, and more tea to come, because there's always tea.
And like Kayla said before we started, who all gonna be there? We were so excited to have Jenny.
And once we started talking to her, there was just so many questions that came about that we are excited to break this up into 2 parts for you guys. So, you sis, you folks. So, yeah, we're gonna hold off there. I know it's so exciting. I mean, she's just like full of information, but we are thrilled to bring you the second part next week in our next episode of You Good Sis.